What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of The Real Build. I'm your host, Bill Ryman, your broker builder, and this is a solo episode coming at you guys. So this is going to be a quicker episode, and you know I love doing these because whenever I have a topic on my mind that I know will benefit my customers and will benefit also the other builders, contractors out there, I love to talk about it. So if you're a contractor out there and you listen to my show, I know there's a lot of you. You might want to take a few notes on how we handle some of these situations. And also, if you're a client out there looking for a builder, looking for a remodeler, or any kind of subcontractor to do a job for you, you're going to want to listen to this episode because this was a huge topic. I've been dealing with it a lot lately, and especially in the world we live in today, where things are a lot harder to get, timelines are a lot harder to accomplish, and labor is kind of getting a little thin on some areas as well. But before we get started, you all know the routine. You guys, I really do appreciate all you guys that reach out to me. On top of that, are reviewing this podcast. We are ranked in some of the top podcasts in our category. We want to get ranked higher, and you guys are doing a good job at it. So let's keep the reviews coming. It takes 1 second literally to go on iTunes and hit the 5 stars. That's all you got to do. You don't even have to write anything because I know a lot of you guys are busy. Your time's valuable. It's very important to me. But if just take 1 second, hit those 5 stars on your iTunes, on your iPhone. Most of you have iPhones. If you have Android, please write a review if you could too. I really appreciate each and every one of you. But the topic, let's get into this a little bit. Shorter episode. This is episode 162. And wow, 162 episodes. We are rolling. I think I've been doing this about 3 years now, and I can't believe it. Time flies. I see some old videos of when I first started this at my old house in my office. And yeah, we've come a long way, and I probably still wouldn't listen to my first episode because I'd probably cringe a little bit. That's a rough episode. But the About Me episode, and then a few after that too. But we've come a long way, and I'm thankful for the show, thankful for all of you that continue to listen to this and share it with your friends and family. One thing I wanted to talk about and address, and it was on my mind because I've been dealing with it a lot, is just being honest with your clients and the importance of it too, because I'll admit back in not as of late, but when I first started in construction, I was hesitant to, I would kind of always beat around the bush when clients would ask me about timelines and stuff like that. I know there's a lot of contractors that are listening to this that do the same thing. If they're, oh, when can you get this done? What's your timeline? And we all would kind of beat around the bush because we didn't want to piss off the client and so on too. And there's a lot of clients out there that are listening to this that are probably smiling a little bit because I'm sure you've gone through this on one of your projects and where they gave you a timeline and it just was not realistic. But you didn't know because you don't really know how construction, the process, and all that works. That's why you're here listening to this show. But a lot of you builders out there, I know you do the same exact thing. To where, a customer asks you when they can get in their house, or, a remodeler, when you're going to have everything done so they can get back to normal. And there's a lot of pressure in that. There's a lot of pressure on you in those questions too. And if you tell them the truth, they're going to be upset. But that's the thing though, is you'd rather have them, and that's what I'm getting at with the show, is you have to tell the truth. You have to be realistic about timelines. You can't beat around the bush. You can't procrastinate on it, and you can't drag it out and so on too. Now, the world we live in too, a lot of people are a little more understanding on this stuff. Not all the time. At first they kind of are, and then once, obviously, when the pressure starts coming, they got to get in a house because their rental's done or wherever they're living, they don't have another place. I understand that, but, just be honest and transparent. That's what I'm getting at. That's what this episode's all about, is be honest, be transparent, communicate, just be upfront about what's happening within their project. And some examples of this that I've been dealing with is, with appliances, or with certain price increases because we bid a job a year ago and prices have gone up since then, or timing. Like I just talked about too, is it's important to be honest about the timelines too. Then we're also dealing with some lack of labor issues, and which is slowing us down with that timeline as well. So what I do personally, and that's what I like to do in the show, is kind of tell you what works for me. And if you're a client out there too, if you're looking for a contractor, you're going to want to listen to this, because this is going to teach you what the questions you should be asking and how you can, read a BS meter, pretty much, is a good way of putting it. But obviously, with price increases, for example, too, price increases will happen. So you need to let them know, especially in the days where we're living in today. It's continuous. I mean, everybody's busy. Things are crazy. I mean, I know things may be slowing down in the back end in some areas, but right now in Florida, especially in my area, things are nuts, especially after Hurricane Ian. A lot of the labor got sucked up into that, where they're replacing drywall because of the flooding and so on. So a lot of our subcontractors are actually losing employees because they're going off on their own because they're making more money, and people are just willing to pay crazy stuff because they want it done. And insurance is dishing out cash too, and so on and so on. But you need to, with the price increases, and what I've done and what works best is I've just told people right at the beginning, prices could go up. If you're working cost plus, if you're working fixed costs, no matter what, you need to let them know a fixed cost price. A lot of clients will say, well, are you going to lock in that price? It's almost impossible to lock in a price unless you pad it way up. So if you're fixed price, you better be padding that price up to know where you have that buffer. And so you want to get ahead of this as far as pricing, and tell them right at the beginning. And I started doing this obviously about a year and a half, 2 years ago, when things started kind of getting a little shaky, and especially when it started kind of with lumber, as we all know, where lumber prices kept jumping way up. But I would quote people way higher on their lumber price. And I would also tell them too, with dirt and so on too, we don't have crystal balls. We can't predict the future. Same with concrete, steel, all those kind of things have gone up. But in the major thing that's gone up, especially down in Florida where I build, is labor. Labor is shot way up because a lot of what's happening now is the guys they want to keep because they're experienced, because they're so busy. They don't have the training or the time to be able to train new guys too. On top of those guys that are experienced, have been offered more money from other places. So what the contractors are having to do is they're having to increase their pay, which is it's a ripple effect, and it comes back to us as the builders, and it gets passed on to us and our overall cost. So what I do up front, and I tell customers, I'm just honest. I go, I'm going to be honest with you. If prices increase, I will let you know. I will show you, but I'm also going to work for you to try and get you the best number I can. I'm going to negotiate. I'm not going to just say it is what it is, and that's where it goes into my next thing. You need to shop pricing and show that you are working for the client. So, this, a lot of builders too, and this goes back to how I started this too, is with price increases and so on, they don't know how to handle that. Contractors don't know how to handle it. They just put it into the price and say it is what it is, and it pisses off the customer. You want a happy customer in the end. I mean, in the age of the internet and the world we live in, if you want to continue to have a successful business, you want that customer to be happy as much as possible. It's not always going to be perfect. Obviously, we go through a lot as builders and contractors, but honesty, I'm telling you, and open communication is your best avenue to having the best end result as a contractor. So what I do on the pricing thing as well, and I'm giving some pointers here, and this is also for the clients out there that are listening, your builders should be doing these things for you too, is I negotiate with my sub. I negotiate with my subcontractor and I say, okay, if you're coming in at, I'll use a concrete price. If you're coming, or no, I'll use something a little bit easier. If you're, let's do a drywall price. If you're coming in at $30,000 to drywall a house, and then you had a $6,500 increase on material and labor, you're at 36.5, right? I'm going to negotiate that down and try and get my subcontractor down to at least 32. So then when I go back to my client and I say, hey, there's been an increase, but he was started here. Let me show you this. But I got you back down to here. The client's going to be like, wow, this guy's actually working for me, a couple grand. Okay, I get it. We're in a world that things are going up. Prices are going up. Inflation, most customers understand what is going on. And some of you listening may be saying, oh, well, that's easier said than done, Bill, this and that. But have you tried it? And how do you deliver that message to the client too? That's the thing. I bring ammo. I bring it all to the table and I say, hey, this is where they came in at. Here's where I got you down. You can see that I'm working for you. I could bid out another subcontractor if you'd like, but in which I do. That was going to go to my next thing as well, because I got a little story that just happened recently to me. But, I'm working for the client, and that's what we have to remember as contractors is that we work for the client. Obviously, we want to make money. We're in this business to make money, and yes, we can make money. You got to know your numbers. And that's the thing. But I'm speaking for myself on this too. So, when you present something to a client, you have to have the detail, the information, and so on. And then you got to say what you did and kind of showcase exactly, okay, we were here and then we went here. So you're working for them, and that shows them that. And most of the time in the world we live in today, a client's going to accept that price because they know you're doing something for them. And that's what I always do. It's not about getting the highest price with me. We want to deliver an overall best experience possible. We're going to make money. That's the thing. And they're paying us to build them a house, but you want them to be happy. It may delay the job a little bit if I got to shop another subcontractor because it takes time to get that bid. And then, our drywall guy's ready to go, so on and so on. But, sometimes they're okay with that. And that goes into another thing too. So recently, and on this topic too, is recently, my drywall guy approached me and he said, hey, Bill, I had to increase this because we're ready for drywall on a certain house. And he goes, Bill, I had to increase this price. Material went up here, and he showed me the bid, the material price. He brought it to me, and there's transparency right there with my subcontractors because they know I'm no BS type person. I want to see all this. I want the ammunition, like I said, to bring to my customer, like I talked about. So they all know this. You can't just increase the price on me as a contractor because I'm going to ask questions. I want the proof because there's a lot of subcontractors out there that are doing that. And if you're working for a builder, do not do that unless you have the ammo and saying, okay, the material price is here. Here's my material. Here's what it was. You need to do the same for the builders as well. I'm just putting that out there for all you subcontractors out there because you're going to piss off your builders if you keep upping your prices and they're going to go somewhere else. So be smart about that. Clients too, your builders should be doing it for you, those that are listening to this. So back to what I was talking about. So my drywall guy approaches me, says, okay, here's what material prices went up to. I'm like, okay, that's a huge jump in material. He goes, yeah, basically they're gouging on the material now because Hurricane Ian, everybody needs drywall replacement. Go figure, it happens. And there's pretty much, it's out of our control. So, okay, the material is what it is. I can talk to the customer about that, get an understanding. But then he goes, well, my labor's also gone up. He did a $15,000 increase on his drywall price. $15,000. Now, I'm not just going to go to the customer and say, hey, by the way, drywall went up $15,000. It is what it is. No way. And I'm meeting with that customer today. We're going to have a talk. I've already bid out their job to 2 other drywall companies. I'm going to let them know that, once again, showcasing that I'm working for them. I'm not going to beat around the bush, tell them a lie. I'm just going to be honest with them and upfront of what I'm doing, but I'm going to show that I'm working for the customer. It's a common theme in this podcast today. So he goes, yeah, it is what it is. I can't get it lower. I go, so you can't get that one lower at all. He goes, no. He goes, I got to pay my guys more. He goes, my guys were threatening to go somewhere else because of Hurricane Ian. So I had to give them all raises, this and that. I said, well, that's not my fault. And he goes, or I said, that's not my problem. And he goes, I know. And he goes, he goes, but I just wanted to be open with you. When you have that transparency all the way down the line too, that's very important as a contractor, because once your subs are transparent with you, you can be open and transparent with the clients, because overall the clients are the ones paying the bills, right? So anyway, I told him I was open and honest with him, just like he was with me. And I said, well, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to shop a few other drywall companies. I have to. I go, I can't just say, hey, there's this 15 grand more. It is what it is. And he goes, no, I understand. And he's like, yeah, I'm sorry, man. It's just that it just hit me like this, blah, blah, blah. I can't eat the money. I go, I get it. You got to make a living too. So, and that's the thing. Our subcontractors got to make a living just like we do, just like our customers do. So in this moment right now, I'm shopping 2 other subcontractors. And if those subcontractors come back more or the same, then I can go to my customer, my client, and say, hey, here's what I did for you. I shopped 2 other ones. The guy we use is around this price. Here's the other 2. We're comfortable with the sub we've been using, but here, I worked for you. This is what I did for you. So that's what you should be doing as a builder. That's what you should be doing. And if you're a client out there, your builder should be working for you. You should be asking these questions as well. So I'm waiting on those bids. I haven't gotten them back, but obviously if one of the other guys is lower, I'm going to go with the best price. That's the thing. So that goes in this shop pricing, show them you're making an offer, or show them you're making an effort, to negotiate the best price for them, and then also goes into being honest about, just being honest, being upfront, and then just being transparent like we've been talking about. Now, another thing people beat around the bush with is, like I talked about earlier, is timelines too. Be open and honest about your timelines, because obviously we live in a different world today too. That things are coming slower. It's struggling. We're struggling to get certain things. Labor's tough. It's a little, because everybody's so busy, and it's tough. So be honest about your timelines as well, and just be open and upfront with clients, because clients want to get in as fast as possible, and you can't really blame them, because if you look at yourself as a contractor and you were building a house, you'd want to get your family in there as soon as possible too. So it comes to an understanding and being upfront about the timelines and when we can truly get them in. And we have a house right now we've been building. It's been a while. It's been a long build, just because we struggle through COVID with our concrete crews. Every crew had COVID. I don't even know how many times. And so it just took forever on concrete, on top of how busy these guys were and getting them there. And I bid other concrete companies, and my guys were the better price still. And I told the client that, once again, being transparent. But but now we're at the kind of final countdown here, and the client's, he's been in a rental. He's got nowhere he sold his house up north. He's got nowhere to go. And some builders would say, well, that's not my problem. With us, this guy's been very, very good and cooperating with us in a lot of different ways. He's been a great client, and we're going to do whatever we can to get him in the house, because I don't want the guy to be homeless. So we're pushing right now. We got about 2 weeks to push. It's crunch time to, before we get a CO or a temporary CO, to get the guy into his house to where he can actually have a roof over his head. But what I'm getting at is, we've been open and honest about the timeline about getting him in, because originally he wanted to be in by November, and now we're in December, and we're striving to get him in by December too. We've been open and honest about our timelines, but we've met him too. We brought him to the job site so he can see personally what is going on. A lot of the delays, a lot of the time that this has taken too, is because they've changed things, they've added things, they've done these things, and we tell them that too. Communicate that with them and why things have taken longer than they should. So when you're building a house, that's what you need to do, is be open and honest. If you've had a delay about a subcontractor not showing up, or you couldn't get them there because of their schedule, this and that, I say that all the time. It's hard to get labor. Everybody's busy. We're trying our best. That's what all we can do at this day and time. Our subcontractors don't just work for us down here, they work for other builders as well. Other builders are all in time crunches just like us. There's not one builder that's building faster than us as well. So, at the quality too that we're building, we want things done right. We want things done perfect. See, these things are what I say to my customers: open, honest, transparent, like I keep talking about. Just telling them how it is, and just don't BS them too. Because the problem with timelines with a lot of builders too is they'll tell them a timeline and people will be like, well, we want to be in by Christmas, right? That's a common one. We want to be in before Christmas. And the builder will say, yeah, sure. Yeah, we can do that. And he doesn't do it. The week before Christmas comes, he's still got a ton of stuff to do. Pressure starts getting on the builder. He starts getting pissed off. The customer starts getting pissed off, and then it just becomes rocky, and the relationship just kind of just goes south and so on. If you are honest about the timeline and say there's no way we can possibly do it, like I had a guy, we're building a 7,000 square foot house, and he said, hey, you think we'll have this done in this amount of time? And I said, no. I just said it to him on the phone. I go, there's no possible way. The amount of detail that is going into your houses or into your house, there's just no way we can do that. I mean, maybe a few months after that will be okay, but I have to assess the timeline once we get to this certain stage too. I couldn't even tell you right now exactly the timeline until I at least get the walls up, and that's the thing. And just because the way labor is too, I can give you a rough idea, but it's not going to be what you just said. So that is being transparent. He didn't like to hear that. He kind of was like, well, that's unfortunate. He kind of said it in a certain way. And I said, yeah, it is. But I go, all I can tell you is we are going to do the best we can, and we are going to build this as fast as we can, but we're going to maintain our quality. And the reason you hired us is because you wanted a house that is high end quality, that's going to last, that's not going to bring you issues, and we're not going to be living there with you trying to fix all those issues as well. So after that conversation, long story short, he respected it and he said, okay, just we'll keep trucking along here and you guys keep working. I said, there's people there every day, so that's all I can do is have people there every day making progress. That's what we're here to do. We don't build the house. And I always say this, we don't build the house, we don't get paid. That's the thing. If we're not building, we're not moving the house, we're not getting paid. So, and just get people to understand things, be more open, communicate more as well too. That's the problem with a lot of contractors is the communication is just sucks. It really does. And a lot of people that are listening to this that are clients that dealt with contractors, it sucks. And contractors are not good at communicating. But when you become better at communicating, I'm telling you, your business is going to be a lot more successful. You're going to get more jobs. You're going to get more referrals. Because people just like open, honest, transparent contractors. And that's a problem with this business right now. And that's what I wanted to talk about. So stop lying to your customers. Be honest with them. Talk about the timelines. Be upfront. Somebody wants to get in by Christmas. Tell them you can't do it. And a lot of contractors struggle with that because they're worried about the outcome. They're always thinking ahead of how bad the outcome's going to be when the outcome really isn't that bad, because most people are going to understand you if you explain things the way they are. Tell them straight up, be open and honest. They may not like it at first, but I'm telling you, when they get into that house, it's a finished product that they are very happy with no issues. You're going to be okay. They're going to be happy. They're going to refer you business. I promise you that too. And That's the thing, is this goes into the final thing, and that's communication. Communicate, 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 over communicate too. I like to bring people, I talked about this a little bit. I like to bring people into the job site as much as possible so they can see the progress of the job. They can hear what's next. We can talk about it. They can see it. We deal with a lot of people from up north. They're here half the time, half the year. So they don't see a lot of progress. We have software that we're utilizing now that they can see things, keep them updated on the progress as well, have the schedule online so they can see how things are moving, so they don't just think the thing's sitting. But long story short is communicating. Get them involved. Have them involved in meetings. Have them meet you there if you're checking on the job too. A lot of builders, another problem is they're like, I don't want the customer here because the customer can delay me or be a problem. I get that. A lot of customers, they ask a lot of questions, they pull you away. It does delay things, but let them know that too. If you're going to bring them there, though, bring them in at least every couple of weeks or something so they can see the progress that's going on, because customers don't know what's going on. They're not the builder. They hired you for a reason. So communication is key. Have a phone call, FaceTime. There's so many outlets that builders aren't utilizing right now. And I think the problem with construction, a lot of rap comes negative, is because the communication is lacking, and we need to communicate better. We need to be upfront. We need to be honest. We need to be transparent. I've said that a million times today, and that is my message for you today. Be open, honest. You're going to have a lot more success. If you're a customer out there too, hire a builder that's going to communicate. Ask them, how often are you going to communicate with me throughout this project? Can you be honest about the timelines with me? Because a lot of builders are afraid of you. They're afraid to tell you these things because they're afraid of your reaction. They think too far ahead. That's the problem. They're overthinking it. And most of the time, when you're open and honest and you just tell a customer how it is, yeah, they may be a little bitter, but in the end, they'll appreciate the honesty. So anyway, that's my show today, guys. I really appreciate each and every one of you. Back with interviews starting next week. I think I got a bunch of them scheduled coming up here. I got to look at my calendar, but love you all. Thank you for listening, and I will see you all on the next episode.